Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today's video is going to be a fun one. In today's video, I'm challenging fellow Go Battle League streamer Matt Beer 87 to 2 best of 5 series in the Mega Master League. Now we're going to be using a Show 6 Pick 3 style format where we reveal to each other our teams of 6, but our movesets are hidden. And for the rules, we are banning Primal Groudon and Kyogre, banning Mega Rayquaza, and also banning Zygarde. So without further ado, let's take a look at the teams that we selected. For my team, I have Shadow Tyranitar, Kyogre, Tapu Bulu, Zacian, Solgaleo, and my Mega is Mega Salamence. And for Matt Beer, he's running Dialga Origin, Mewtwo, Mega Gyarados, Metagross, Xerneas, and Lugia. Right off the bat, after taking a look at the teams, it seems like Zacian is going to be extremely important for me. It's one of my most effective checks at dealing with the Mega Gyarados, which looks incredibly powerful. As for my Mega Salamence, it realistically can hit everything for at least some okay damage, but I do have to be careful about Metagross, as that can resist the moves from Salamence and do very well into Zacian as well. The leads are set for game number 1. I lead Kyogre into Mega Gyarados, a terrible lead. Zacian save switch answered with a Metagross, and it's all going wrong in game number 1. But my thought process was, if I did lose the lead, then I could bait out the Metagross with my Zacian save switch, and then, hopefully, I can rely on Mega Salamence to sweep in the endgame. Opponent is going to go for the Meteor Mash. Unfortunately, I'm unable to get to the back-to-back Wild Charges, so I will be able to get the shield back, but unfortunately, I will fall short from forcing a shield advantage. I can send in Kyogre. I am running Blizzard on the Kyogre, but I'm not going to get enough farm in this matchup to get there. I'm going to send in the Salamence to get a small energy advantage. In the back, unfortunately, my opponent came prepared for the Mega Salamence, as in the back, they have Lugia. Here's the thing though, Lugia, very bulky by regular Master League standards, but this is the Mega Master League. Look at that outrage damage, my goodness. I shield as Lugia full sends the Aeroblast. In comes the Mega Gyarados, and unfortunately, it's looking like it is going to be a Game 1 loss for me. Unfortunately, in these Show 6 Pick 3 style formats, I tend to make a habit out of losing in game number 1. And this time, it is no exception, as the Gyarados is going to farm down, leave with the Crunch, and that will KO Kyogre, and that's going to be a Game 1 loss. Feels like game 1 was about the worst case scenario. I did like the line that I ran, but man, he just completely read me like a book from start to finish. So now I have to make the choice. Do I need to switch up the line, or do I run it back and say there's no way it goes as poorly as it did the first time? And I decided to stick to my guns. I like the line that I ran. I feel like as long as I don't see the Mega Gyarados in the lead again, it can go a lot different. So I decided to lock it in. Same lead as last game, and thank goodness it's not the Mega Gyarados awaiting my Kyogre, but instead it's going to be Lugia. And this is very fine. I am running Blizzard on the Kyogre, and Blizzard can absolutely delete Lugia. Lugia is going to farm up quite a bit of energy. I'm full sending the Blizzard. Opponent is going to respect that damage. That is a little bit unfortunate. I'm just going to fully sacrifice the Kyogre. Kyogre did its job. Opponent goes for the Sky Attack. I'm going to be able to make it to the Surf. Opponent is going to catch onto their Dialga Origin. So I know 2/3 of their team so far. And so far, I've seen 2 Pokemon that do quite well into the Mega Salamence. I can now send in the Zacian, and I decide to commit the shield, because I do think that health on this Zacian will be quite valuable. In the moment, I thought that I had to go for a Play Rough plus Wild Charge. I think, with hindsight being 20/20, that I could have got away with a double Wild Charge here, and that double Wild Charge would have done enough to knock out. I would have been at -4 defense, but I would have had more residual energy going into the next matchup. Whereas now I don't have a ton of residual energy. It's Metagross in the back. I'm going to fire off the Wild Charge, and this should burn my switch clock. And now I can send out the Mega Salamence. Mega Salamence, the stat product difference between this and Metagross is so severe that this is actually not a terrible matchup. I can tank the Meteor Mash, in comes the Lugia, and Lugia is going to be firing off Sky Attack. I will commit the shield, and now I'm just going to click the fly right away. It either KOs or it grabs the final shield. They give up the final shield. Mega Salamence continuing the farm. They're firing off their energy, going for the Sky Attack. It does not KO. The Salamence gets them into perfect farm range for the Zacian. Zacian gets the farm down. Can I outpace the Metagross? Metagross bullet punches adding up, but not enough. The Zacian withstands the barrage. Wild Charge picks up the KO, and we get to even up the series 1-all. The series being tied up, it feels like a whole new ball game, to be honest. This time, for Game 3, I decide that I will change up my team. I'm going to bench the Kyogre and instead bring Solgaleo, which I think offers a bit more neutral play. And I'm going to put Zacian on the lead, as Zacian can do well into a lot of Pokemon on his team. And the Zacian finds a pretty okay matchup, leading Zacian into Xerneas. Zacian can do quite well here, and I am on Quick Attack, which is nice. I'm going to farm up, fire off the player up. He waits the turn and catches onto Metagross. What a beautiful catch. I'm going to farm up energy and now send in the Solgaleo. Solgaleo can survive an Earthquake, but the thing is, it still does quite a lot of damage, so I will commit the shield. And he baits me with a Meteor Mash. That is so painful, and with the bait, he actually gets there, surviving that Fire Spin on 1 HP. This started off well, but this is going downhill fast. I have a ton of energy on the Solgaleo. What's he going to be sending in here? Oh my, he sends in the Mega Gyarados. This is closed team sheets. I go for the Solar Beam. He no-shields. It connects. And suddenly a win con has appeared in this pivotal game number 3. In comes the Xerneas. I go for the Psychic Fangs, catch the close combat onto the Mega Salamence, but he goes for the Moonblast, anticipating the switch out. Moonblast gets the attack debuff, but luckily that doesn't really matter because my Dragon Tails were not going to do a whole lot anyway. Another Moonblast KOs the Salamence. Back in comes Solgaleo. Solgaleo still in a range where this Xerneas is going to need 2 close combats to pick up the knockout. I'm going to get so much Fire Spin damage here thanks to their debuff defense. Psychic Fangs is going to be shielded. They save the move. In comes Gyarados, and I'm firing off the Psychic Fangs. I don't care that it's resisted. They're forced to shield. They're too low on HP. I potentially could have made another Psychic Fangs there, so they're forced to fire off the energy. Aqua Tail picks up the KO. I can send in the Zacian, get the farm down, and Zacian has the charge attack loaded. Xerneas didn't have enough for a Moonblast anyway, so Wild Charge picks up the KO, and thanks to a surprise Solar Beam, we're now up 2-1. Landing that Solar Beam was amazing in Game 3, but going down 2 shields in a positive matchup was really not a great play, and the element of surprise really helped me fight back in that matchup. So I'm going to have to play a lot cleaner in this Game 4 if I want to take the win. I decided to keep the same line of 3, but just with the Salamence on the lead. And we have the battle of Mega Pokemon, Mega Salamence versus Mega Gyarados. Mega Gyarados hitting for super effective damage, but as you see, these Dragon Tails from the Mega Salamence just absolutely shred. Fly would do massive damage. They're forced to commit the shield, and now I have a choice to make. Do I try and just let this go? I say, you know what? I'm going to let it through. The crunch connects. I'm going to get farmed down, and now I can send in Zacian. I do have that Solgaleo lurking in the back, which can be so deadly into Matt's team once the Gyarados is out of the way. Aqua Tail is going to connect. I'm farming up, but I miscount, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to take another Aqua Tail. This is not ideal. I'm going to farm up a lot of energy to the back-to-back Wild Charges. I'm expecting that after this lands, he's going to try and snipe with a Bullet Punch from Metagross. So I'm just spamming the switch button into Solgaleo, expecting to see that Metagross. There's the Metagross. I switch in the back. It's Mewtwo, and Mewtwo probably is going to be running Shadow Ball. So this is a tough call. I commit the shield. I get baited with a Psystrike. So you know what? If I'm getting baited, it's time to bait back. He got nuked by the Solar Beam last game, and he shields the bait this time. Oh, that is incredibly good. I'm going to commit the shield. It's going to be a bait, but he can't outpace me here. I can make the beam before he makes the Shadow Ball, even with his double bait, and this will pick up the KO, and I should be in a pretty decent position. I do have the Wild Charge loaded on that Zacian, and I'm going to be able to debuff his defense with Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs will connect. I switch into the Zacian and get the Wild Charge. This will come very close to knocking out. It just does not. He gets the farm down, and now we get to see, does an Earthquake KO? Can Solgaleo hang on? Earthquake does not KO, and that's a 3-1 victory in our first best of 5. We're now going to do a second best of 5, running it back with the same teams to see if Matt is able to get a little bit of revenge. After the first best of 5, I feel like I have a decent handle on which of my Pokemon are good. However, for the game number 1, I do want to try something a little bit different. I think he might try and switch up the strategy and go with a Mewtwo, so I'm going to bring a Tyranitar in the back. Zacian into Dialga Origin is a very fine lead. I do win the zeros here, so I can fire off the Play Rough, tank an Iron Head, and then make it to a second charge attack before I get farmed down. So the Play Rough is going to connect. Opponent, perfect charge attack timing, going to fire off the Iron Head. That's not going to be a problem. I can tank this damage and make it to a Play Rough, but he sends in the Metagross to snipe. My goodness. He is making some very nice snipes here, and sending in the Metagross means that if I had led Solgaleo, he would have been in a tremendous amount of trouble. But he hard read that I would not bring the Solgaleo on the lead, and that is quite unfortunate for me. My opponent is going to fire off the Meteor Mash. I'm going to try saving 2 shields for the Tyranitar. I'm hoping that it's going to be the Mewtwo or the Lugia in the back, but it's neither. It's going to be the Gyarados, firing off the fly, hoping for a no-shield. Opponent commits the shield. In comes Tyranitar, and Tyranitar is going to have to start doing some work because it's basically the only hope I have to win this game. In comes Dialga, and this is going to be difficult, but I think I'm going to have to go for a 1-shield farm down. If Dialga gets to a move, I lose. Tyranitar going for the farm down, gets the farm down, and I'm firing off the Stone Edge. I don't want to bait. I feel like it's too risky. The Stone Edge gets shielded. Tyranitar makes it to the Stone Edge, but loses charge attack priority. The Gyarados hanging on, KOing the Tyranitar and my Salamence, and Matt is able to take the 1-0 lead. So unfortunately, we're starting off the second best of 5 the same way we started off the first best of 5 with a game 1 loss. However, this time, I don't think I'm going to be running back the same team. Tyranitar was a prediction, and unfortunately, that prediction was not accurate. So I'm going to try something new for game number 2. For game number 2, I'm leading Tapu Bulu, and that's not what I was hoping to see. There's the Mewtwo I was hoping to see in game number 1, but here it is on the lead. This is really not great. Although I am running Solar Beam and I can win the zeros here by making it to the Solar Beam. Opponent tries to snipe with the Metagross, but this time I came prepared. I save that beam on 1 HP and send in the Solgaleo. Solgaleo farming up quite a lot of energy. Opponent, I decide to shield, and they're going to full send the Earthquake. I'm going for the Psychic Fangs, and then I believe I should be able to farm down after. Psychic Fangs is double resisted, but it's the defense debuff that I'm after. But once again... oh no, once again, this Metagross, it keeps living on 1 HP. I'm forced to go down 2 shields. In comes the Mewtwo, and I'm going to bait. I am baiting with the Psychic Fangs. Mewtwo will commit the shield. Here, I am short of a Solar Beam. I'm really hoping my opponent doesn't know their counts, but they do know their counts. They're going to fire off the Shadow Ball. I can survive a Shadow Ball from full HP, but not from here. Shadow Ball picks up the KO, and unfortunately, I really don't see a path forward to winning this game. I can send in the Zacian. They're going to get to land a Psy Strike. My play here is I'm going to overfarm by a couple quick attacks, go for a Wild Charge. If he shields, I can go for a combo play with the Nature's Madness that I've banked. But that's quite unfortunate. I was relying on having a beam endgame to potentially nuke something, but I'm forced to do the Madness to get rid of them, and in the back it's Gyarados. If I could have made another Nature's Madness into a Wild Charge would have KO'd, but not making the second Nature's Madness means that I'm now down 2-0. I tried making some line reads, bringing some of the Pokemon that I didn't really get to bring in set number 1, and it has cost me dearly. I now have no margin for error in these games, so I think I'm going to go back to the tried and true Zacian, Solgaleo, Mega Salamence. Honestly, I can switch up the order depending on what I'm feeling for each individual game, but I think I'm going to have to rely on those 3. I'm leading Zacian into Dialga Origin. This is very okay. Opponent safe switches into Mewtwo, and this is definitely less okay for me. As Mewtwo, since I did not bring the Tyranitar, is quite safe here. Psy Strike is going to connect. I will fire off the Play Rough. Play Rough will guarantee a ton of damage or a shield. It gets the shield. In comes Mega Salamence. And since I have already seen him throw both a Psy Strike and a Shadow Ball, I know that this cannot be an Ice Beam. The Psy Strike is going to connect. Salamence winning charge attack priority over Mewtwo. This is not the regular Master League Mewtwo. You can lose charge attack priority. Salamence exiting with a decent amount of HP. In comes Dialga. Making a fly here would be huge. I get the fly, but right as I get KO'd. But now I can realign in this game. I have Solgaleo aligned against Dialga. I'll shield the Roar of Time, but this Dialga is on Thunder. It's not on Roar of Time. In the back, it's Metagross, and this is actually amazing. Mewtwo out of the way. I've finally caught the ABA Steel types with the Pokemon that can destroy them, and that is Solgaleo. Solgaleo spamming out Psychic Fang after Psychic Fang. Look at the Fire Spin damage here. I will commit the shield. Metagross goes for a Meteor Mash, hoping to make it to a second Meteor Mash, but the Fire Spins just do too much damage. There's no 1 HP surviving this time, Metagross. Psychic Fangs will connect. I make another Psychic Fangs. Dialga's forced to shield this at this point. This Solgaleo is absolutely taking over. I'm farming up energy to switch into the Zacian as Dialga fires off its energy. It is going to be the Thunder that we catch, and that's going to be a Game 3 victory. So the good news is I did avoid getting swept. However, if I do want to win this series, I'm going to have to win 2 more games in a row. The safe play is definitely just to run the same line of 3, the Mega Salamence, Solgaleo, and Zacian, but I'm not really feeling like the safe road. Instead, I'm bringing back the Tapu Bulu. I think he's going to keep bringing the Mega Gyarados, and I know I can shut that down with Bulu. Leads are set. Mega Salamence versus Mega Gyarados. The Mega Pokemon get to duel once again. Again, pretty nice lead for the Salamence. These Dragon Tails, even though they are only hitting for neutral, do tear through that Gyarados. I fire off the Fly. That would do way too much damage, so they will commit the shield. I know Salamence is going to be able to win the 0s and the 1s, so I decide to commit the shield. I want shields down in this matchup. I shield the Crunch, go for the Fly. Opponent says not so fast, catching the Fly onto Metagross, but I'm prepared for the Metagross. I send in Solgaleo, and from previous games, I know Earthquake is going to do a lot, but an Earthquake is not going to KO me, so I'm just not going to shield this. I am just going to save shields. Opponent baits with a Meteor Mash, and they don't make it to their next move. That is incredibly nice for me. In comes Lugia. Opponent knows I have Solar Beam, and they cannot afford to send in the Gyarados. So I debuff them once, and purely for science, I'm Solar Beaming a Lugia. This is resisted, but Lugia's defense has been debuffed, so that will definitely add up. I go for the Psychic Fangs. It's caught onto the Gyarados, and this is honestly amazing for me. It's not going to do a lot to this Gyarados, but now it's going to allow a massive Bullet Seed farm down. This right here, look at how much damage this Crunch does, by the way. That is resisted, and it still does like 35 to 40% of my Tapu Bulu's health. They go for another Crunch. That gets Tapu Bulu deep into the red. Tapu Bulu is going to fire off the Nature's Madness. Nature's Madness, I mean, this Lugia is rapidly running out of HP. They're forced to shield one, and I'm already at another one here. And this Nature's Madness, due to their defense now being debuffed, is going to do more. Whether they shielded the first or the second, I was still in a dominant position because I still have the Salamence and I still have Solgaleo. I can send in the Salamence, farm down, and just like that, we're going to game number 5. I have a tough choice to make in game number 5. Do I try and run one of my top 3 Pokemon, or do I stick with the tried and true? I think for game number 5, I really want the reverse sweep. I'm going to stick with what I know, and that's going to be the Mega Salamence lead with the Solgaleo and the Zacian in the back, just going for as much flexible play as I possibly can. And I pick up not the greatest lead, but not the worst lead. Mega Salamence versus Metagross. Metagross does have the typing advantage, but I don't think anyone ever told Mega Salamence that, as Mega Salamence can inflict some massive damage in this matchup. I'm farming up, going for the Outrage. It's a catch onto Mega Gyarados. Let's see the damage. Outrage connects, and now I can send in Zacian. This is definitely a Zacian bait out by sending in the Gyarados, but honestly, I'm pretty okay with that, because that means that this is going to get to dodge the Solgaleo, which is very, very important. I will fire off the Wild Charge. Gyarados not going to fight its fate, just going to let that through. In comes the Metagross. Unfortunately, I'm unable to get 2 more Wild Charges due to the fact that I am debuffed. Wild Charge is going to be shielded, and now I can send in the Solgaleo. I will commit the shield, protecting against a potential Earthquake. There is the Earthquake from the Metagross. In the back, it's Mewtwo, and this is really bad. This is really, really bad. Shadow Ball will do so much damage here. I call the bait. It's the Shadow Ball. And now it all comes down to a 50-50. I decide, you know what? If I'm losing with a Solar Beam. Solar Beam gets no shielded. He calls the bait. And just like that, we get the reverse sweep down 2-0. Things looked dire, but thanks to a Solar Beam and a Dream, we take the 3-2 victory, taking that reverse sweep. All in all, these battles reminded me of how fun the Mega Master League format is, and that Niantic, please bring it back in a future season. Big thank you to MattBeer87 for joining me. As I mentioned, he's a fellow Go Battle League streamer. I should have a link to his Twitch in the pinned comment. Definitely go check him out. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated, so thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.